everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're moving on to the Brigham Young manual of this series of the teachings of the presidents of the church. We're looking for all the different chapters that have to do with the second coming, with the millennium, and things that have to do with either one of those things. So you don't have to watch these in order, but I am making a playlist out of them. I want to go back because I'm pretty sure not everything was covered whenever you went over this in Sunday school, unless you happen to have read the whole lesson before that Sunday, or you've gone back, whatever the case may be. And I think there's a lot of stuff to find in these manuals. So we are doing chapter 16 of Brigham Young's Teachings of the Presidents of the Church. It's called Building Zion. Now, again, I'm not planning on reading any of these ahead of time. I just want to see what they say, comment on it, and then I'd like to see your comments with what we read. So, chapter 16, Building Zion. President Brigham Young's whole soul was dedicated to establishing Zion. He oversaw the gathering of nearly 100,000 Latter-day Saints to the valleys of the Rocky Mountains and colonized some 400 cities and towns. That's pretty astounding, actually, when you think about it. Okay, he built temples and tabernacles, organized stakes and wards throughout the western United States, and sent missionaries to nearly every corner of the earth. No one understood better the sacrifice and effort required, but as he said, quote, "We are not going to wait for angels. We're going to build Zion ourselves." And one thing I'm trying to figure out in my mind is what it means, because the thing I think we all understand is that Zion is a people. It is a place, but it's also a people. So it's easy to understand building up a Zion people. We do that all throughout the world. You're called to gather to your local stake in Zion, right? So nowadays, it isn't about going to um, Ohio or Missouri or Illinois or Utah. It's wherever you are, your nearest stake. That's where you're supposed to gather to. We do know that New Jerusalem will be built before the second coming, but that's the part that I'm trying to understand, because it's abundantly evident at this point from everything that we've read that Jackson County, Missouri is still the center stake. It's the center point. That is the center of New Jerusalem. However, I've explored the idea that maybe you could currently consider Salt Lake, Zion, or New Jerusalem, or having the New Jerusalem status. So I'm trying to think of different ways that this could come about, because I do see a lot of comments where people think that in some way or another, whether it's because of civil war or nuclear or nuclear war or invasion of the United States or something, that the Kansas City area is going to be obliterated, and then we're going to be able to go there and build Zion. And I do not hold that view whatsoever. A lot of people will point to the yellow dog prophecy. I've already done 2 videos about that, and in the ensign itself, it's been debunked. The Not debunked, but it doesn't refer to something that's going to happen still. It has to do with the Civil War that already happened during the Civil War. So some people think they're waiting for that prophecy to be fulfilled, and that's going to make it so we can build up a literal city in Jackson County. But that has to do with what happened during the Civil War. I don't personally foresee a time when the Kansas City area is destroyed. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think this more has to do with the stakes of Zion, and then at some point building the temples of Independence. If we go to the map, Independence, Missouri. we have looked at this area so many times, so many times. If you look at Independence, Missouri, okay, the church owns all this land right here. From what I can tell, they definitely own the visitor center, the Independence Visitor Center. They own this. This is like the stake center. It seems that they own this entire area right here. And then here's a little Angel Moroni symbol for the Kansas City, Kansas Facilities Maintenance Group. So I don't know. And then it says Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'm assuming that the church owns this whole area. I'm not so sure about this square right here. Well, this one says Central Mission Community of Christ. So that must be owned by the Community of Christ. Okay, so anyway, I guess the way that I see it playing out in my mind is that the temple complex will be built. I've shown on Photoshop how it could be done on this piece of land right here, unless, of course, and then let me pull it back up. Unless the plan is still to build a temple where the Church of Christ Temple Lot owns that land. And we've seen that the church has tried to purchase that land. So I don't know how, but I don't think that Independence, Missouri is going to be leveled so that we can build a brand new city on top of it. Um, so anyway, I tend to think that just right now, Salt Lake City could be considered the current New Jerusalem, and then maybe during the millennium, there'll be migration there, and then things will be restructured, renovated, changed. Maybe road system, the roads will be. I don't know, but let's just see what it says here. I don't know exactly what he's going to touch on, but okay. Teachings of Brigham Young. Zion is the pure in heart. Okay. And someone in the comments noted because I've talked about the Marvel movies a lot on this channel. There's a part in one of the Thor movies where Odin is like, Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And someone quoted that to me, on one of my like Zion videos. And ultimately it's true. It is true. It's a people. So anyway, let me say a few words with regard to Zion. We profess to be Zion. If we are the pure in heart, we are so. For, quote, Zion is the pure in heart. DNC 9721. Where is Zion? I don't know what this DBY stands for. That must be like maybe Diary of Brigham Young. I don't know. Maybe it says at the bottom. Does it say at the bottom? No, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure the BY stands for Brigham Young. Where is Zion? Where the organization of the Church of God is. And may it dwell spiritually in every heart, and may we live so as to enjoy the spirit of Zion always. Okay. So where the organization of the church is. And it seems like as of right now, like I said, it includes all the stakes of Zion. That's where the church is organized. It's organized by stakes, wards, um, temple districts. We have church headquarters. Okay, this is the gospel. This is the plan of salvation. This is the kingdom of God. This is the Zion that has been spoken and written of by all the prophets since the world began. This is the work of Zion, which the Lord has promised to bring forth. Zion will extend eventually all over this earth. There will be no nook or corner upon the earth that will that will be in okay upon the earth, but what will be in Zion? It will all be Zion. So it's like in this sense, Zion is not just, I don't think it's specifically just talking about New Jerusalem. It kind of gets confusing because sometimes Zion is referring specifically to New Jerusalem. In this case, the way it's talking about it here is just talking about all of the church, all the pure in heart. I think you could include pretty much all the church of the firstborn, which is those who are living in such a way that they're going to be going to the celestial kingdom. They're worthy of the celestial kingdom. Um, okay, here's a photograph of the Salt Lake Temple under construction. President Young dedicated his life to establishing Zion and taught that, quote, the purpose of our life should be to build up the Zion of our God. Our purpose in life should be to sanctify ourselves and build the Zion of our God. The purpose of our life should be to. Jesus, kind of repetitive. The purpose of our life should be to build up the Zion of our God, to gather the house of Israel, bring in the fullness of the Gentiles, restore and bless the earth with our ability, and make it as the Garden of Eden. Store up treasures of knowledge and wisdom in our own understandings, purify our own hearts, and prepare a people to meet the Lord when he comes. So it's interesting here because this is talking about before the millennium, and he's saying doing things like with our ability, make it as the Garden of Eden, store up treasures of knowledge and wisdom in our own understanding. Yeah, so it's like establishing a pre-millennial people, getting ready for the millennium, restoring everything. Okay, we have no business here other than to build up and establish the Zion of God. It must be done according to the will and law of God, after that pattern and order by which Enoch built up and perfected the former day Zion, which was taken away to heaven. Hence, the saying went abroad that Zion had fled. By and by, it'll come back again, and as Enoch prepared his people to be worthy of translation, so we, through our faithfulness, must prepare ourselves to meet Zion from above when it shall return to earth, and to abide the brightness and glory of its coming. And, that's going to become quite the event. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if like there's literally a large, huge like piece of land that comes down and then pushes down the land underneath it. To I don't know if it's simply the people. I don't know if it's like a bunch of individual structure. But it is a reality. In one way or another, it's going to happen. Uh, it seems to me that it's going to join literally, like as far as like land, it's going to join with New Jerusalem in Jackson County. It's just it's crazy. I want to know the details. I want to know exactly what it's going to look like, but we're probably just going to have to wait. We look forward to the day when the Lord will prepare for the building of the New Jerusalem, preparatory to the city of Enoch's going to be joined. Okay, I'm going to start that over. We look forward to the day when the Lord will prepare for the building of the New Jerusalem, preparatory to the city of Enoch's going to be joined with it when it is built upon this earth. We are anticipating to enjoy that day, whether we sleep in death previous to that or not. We look forward with all the anticipation and confidence that children can possess in a parent that we shall be there when Jesus comes. And if we are not there, we will come with him. In either case, we shall be there when he comes. Yeah, because there's going to be the first resurrection. Uh, Whenever you read in scripture, it seems like at the same time that the resurrection happens, that's also when the quickening in the translation happens. And it seems like that's the time when you're caught up to be with the Lord in the clouds and descend with him in the clouds. So, um, yeah, and it's going to be interesting meeting the people of Enoch. What have they been doing all this time? Has time been passing at the same rate for them as it has here on Earth, or have there been like many generations of people since they left? How large is their population? Um, so many questions. So many questions. The purpose of building Zion is to sanctify the children of God through the ordinances of salvation. We've been gathered for the express purpose of purifying ourselves that we may become polished stones in the temple of God. We are here for the purpose of establishing the kingdom of God on the earth. To be prepared for this work, it has been necessary to gather us out from the nations and countries of the world to receive the ordinances of the holy priesthood of the Son of God, which are necessary for the perfection of the saints, preparatory to his coming. And that's been all the talk lately in conference is getting on and then remaining on the covenant path. It's saying here in this paragraph that that's preparatory to his coming. So the ordinance of sealing must be performed here, son to father, and woman to man, and children to parents, etc., until the chain of generation is made perfect in the sealing ordinances back to Father Adam. Hence, we have been commanded to gather ourselves together to come out of Babylon and sanctify ourselves and build up the Zion of our God by building cities and temples, redeeming countries from the solitude of nature. What is that? Redeeming countries from the solitude of nature? I don't understand. I don't know what that means. Until the earth is sanctified and prepare for the residence of God and angels. The Lord has provided the means for the saints to build Zion. Okay. Do we realize that if we enjoy a Zion in time or in eternity, we must make it for ourselves? That all who have a Zion in the eternities as sorry, the language is so okay. That all who have a Zion in the eternities of the gods organized, framed, consolidated, and perfected it themselves, and consequently are entitled to enjoy it. Uh, when we conclude to make a Zion, we will make it, and this work commences in the heart of each person. So this is making Zion. It starts with us in our hearts. When the father of a family wishes to make a Zion in his own house, he must take the lead in his good work, which it is impossible for him to do unless he himself possesses the spirit of Zion. Before he can produce the work of sanctification in his family, he must sanctify himself, and uh, and by this means, God can help him to sanctify his family. The Lord has done his share of the work. He has surrounded us with the elements containing wheat, meat, flax, wool, silk, fruit, and everything with which to build up, beautify, and glorify the Zion of the last days. And it is our business to mold these elements to our wants and necessities according to the knowledge we now have and the wisdom we can obtain from the heavens through our faithfulness. In this way, in this way, will the Lord bring again Zion upon the earth, and in no other. So we have all the materials to do it. This is what I'm getting from this paragraph. We have all the materials to do it, um, to be able to produce our wants and necessities. And then it says, according to the knowledge we now have and the wisdom we can obtain from the heavens. So also, I guess through revelation, inspiration, and help from the heavens, from the Lord. Okay, there's not one thing wanting in all the works of God's hands to make a Zion upon the earth when the people conclude to make it. We can make a Zion of God on earth at our pleasure upon the same principle that we can raise a field of wheat or build and inhabit. There's been no time when the material has not been here from which to produce corn, wheat, etc. And by the judicious management and arrangement of these ever existing material, a Zion of God can always be built on the earth. So now, see, these last couple of paragraphs, now it's talking about not so much the spiritual, but the material Zion. Okay, building Zion requires sacrifice and great effort. We want all the Latter-day Saints to understand how to build up Zion. The city of Zion in beauty and magnificence, will outstrip anything that is now known upon the earth. The curse will be taken from the earth, and sin and corruption will be swept from its face. Who will do this great work? Is the Lord going to convince the people that he will redeem the center stake of Zion, beautify it, and then place them there without an exertion on their part? No, he will not come here to build a temple, a tabernacle, a bowery, or to set out fruit trees, make aprons of fig leaves, or coats of skins, or work in brass and iron, for we already know how to do these things. We have to build up Zion if we do our duty. I see men and women in this congregation, only a few of them, who are driven from the central stake of Zion in Jackson County, Missouri. Ask them if they have Ask them if they had any sorrow or trouble, then let them look at the beautiful land that the Lord would have given them if all had been faithful in keeping his commandments and had walked before him as they should, and then ask them with regard to the blessings they would have received. If they tell you the sentiments of their minds, they will tell you that the yoke of Jesus would have been easy and his burden would have been light, in that it would have been a delightful task to have walked in obedience to his commandments and have been of one heart and one mind. But through the selfishness of some, which is idolatry, through their covetousness, which is the same, in the lustful desire of their minds, they were cast out and driven from their homes. Let us train our minds until we delight in that which is good, lovely, and holy, seeking continually after that intelligence which will enable us effectually to build up Zion, which consists of building houses, tabernacles, temples, streets, and every convenience and necessity to embellish and beautify, seeking to do the will of the Lord all the days of our lives, improving our minds in all scientific and mechanical knowledge, seeking diligently to understand the great design and plan of all created things, that we may know what to do with our lives and how to improve upon the facilities placed within our reach. We have come here to build up Zion. How shall we do it? We have got to be united in our efforts. We should go to work with a united faith, like the heart of one man, and whatever we should do, whatever we do should be performed in the name of the Lord, and we will then be blessed and prospered in all we do. We have a work on hand whose magnitude can hardly be told. Many Latter-day Saints think that many Latter-day Saints think when they have obeyed the gospel, made a sacrifice in forsaking their homes, perhaps their parents, husbands, wives, children, farms, native lands, or other things held dear, that the work is done. But it is only just commenced. The work of purifying ourselves and preparing to build up the Zion of God has only just begun with us when we have got as far as that. Everything connected with building up Zion requires actual severe labor. It is nonsense to talk about building up any kingdom except by labor. It requires the labor of every part of our organization, whether it be mental, physical, or spiritual, and that is the only way to build up the kingdom of God. If we are to build up the kingdom of God or establish Zion upon the earth, we have to labor with our hands, plan with our minds, and devise ways and means to accomplish that object. I have Zion in my view constantly. We are not going to wait for angels or for Enoch and his company to come and build up Zion. We are going to build it. We will raise our wheat, build our houses, fence our farms. And by the way, doing fencing sucks. Um, Plant our vineyards and orchards and produce everything that will make our bodies comfortable and happy. And in this manner, we intend to build up Zion on the earth and purify it and cleanse it from all pollutions. Let there be in hallowed influence go from us over all things over which we have any power, over the soil we cultivate, over the houses we build, and over everything we possess. And if we cease to hold fellowship with that which is corrupt and establish the Zion of God in our hearts, in our own houses, in our cities, and throughout the country, we shall ultimately overcome the earth, for we are the lords of the earth. And instead of thorns and thistles, every useful plant that is good for the food of man and to beautify and adorn will spring from its blossom. The Lord has blessed me. He has always blessed me from the time I commenced to build up Zion. I have been extremely blessed. I could relate circumstances of so extraordinary a character in regard to the providences of God to me that my brethren and sisters would say in their hearts, quote, I can hardly give credence to this. Um, and I feel like I can kind of share in this. I mean, we don't know exactly, uh, you know, whatever has happened to him, but I know that I feel like I can say that if I was like to tell my whole story, um, with how I've gotten to this point, it's been a lot of miracles and help from the Lord, like very miraculous. There's no way I could have planned all of this, and I'm really happy with where I'm at. And I'm sure that many of you would be able to like share things that maybe other people wouldn't believe. It's like, what? No. But I know that many of you, probably all of you, have your own experiences. So anyway, my spiritual enjoyment must be obtained by my own life, but it would add much to the comfort of the community and to my happiness as one with them if every man and woman would live their religion and enjoy the light and glory of the gospel for themselves. Be passive, humble, and faithful. Rejoice continually before the Lord. Attend to the business they are called to do, and be sure never to do anything wrong. All would then be peace, joy, and tranquility in our streets and in our houses. Litigation would cease, and that would be so great. You know, I I'm like at the same time fascinated, but also terrified and horrified whenever I watch court any like videos on like court rulings or legal battles, because it's really serious and the consequences can be really serious. And there's so many times, well, I guess every time there's not really um, things could be avoided, right? Um, it's all because of the natural man, our natural inclinations, um, trying to get even with people. I mean, there's a whole like range of different things that cause people to go to court. Um, suing people. I would love to see the day when all that stops, when there's no more of these crazy court battles, when there's no more prison, and not because and because everyone is so good that there's no need of those things. So anyway, litigation would cease. There would be no difficulties before the High Council and bishops' courts, and courts, turmoil, and strife would not be known. Then we would have Zion, for all would be pure in heart. My heart has been set in me to do the will of God, to build up his kingdom on earth, to establish Zion and its laws, and to save the people. And I can say truly and honestly that the thought never came into my mind in all my labors what my reward will be, or whether my crown will be large or small, or any crown at all. A small possession, a large possession, or no possession. I have never had any thoughts or reflections upon this, or cared the first thing about it. All that I have had in my mind has been that it was my duty to do the will of God and to labor to establish the kingdom on the earth. Because the principles which God has revealed for the salvation of the inhabitants of the earth are pure, holy, and exalting in their nature. In them there is honor and eternal increase. They lead on they lead on from light to light, strength to strength, glory to glory, knowledge to knowledge, and power to power. So, um, I really do think that the one thing that we do know for sure is that we build up Zion by working on ourselves and purifying our hearts, keeping entering into covenants in the first place, and then keeping our covenants. And there's just a wealth of what to do in general conference when we listen to it. In terms to building up the buildings and stuff like that, I don't know how it's going to happen, but okay, you could say that right now, with all the stake centers and temples, there already is infrastructure all throughout the world. Because those things, I'm sure, will be used in the governance of the world. Uh, I don't know exactly how, because we know that there's still going to be other churches, people of other faiths in the beginning. But in the process of time, I would imagine that temples, stake centers, church buildings, I don't know that there's going to be so much like government buildings anymore, because the Lord is going to be the king, and the government is going to be, as President Oakes has said, that the 12 tribes of Israel is the government of God on the earth. Um, so, in other words, what I'm saying is that we might be surprised how much, in terms of physical assets, have been built already when you take into account all the buildings um, that belong to the church. As far as the center stake of Zion, well, you could even say, let's go back to the map, as long as it doesn't black out on me again. Uh, there is an actual stake building that's there right here. This is a stake center. And this right here is uh, seems to be slated as a future temple. So, I mean, how much has to be constructed before Christ comes and will visit this? Uh, does this entire area have to be built into a literal city, or does it only need to be just the beginnings? Do we have to purchase this piece of land right here? Does something have to happen with the Church of Christ temple lot? And then we buy this piece of land because that was blacked out again. I don't know if I need to like clear my cache or whatever, but so I don't know, but I tend to be of the frame of mind that things can happen quickly. I'm not the type of person that says, oh, so much has to happen, because we don't know. We don't know how things will unfold. Maybe it will take a long time, or maybe it could happen overnight in a way that we don't think. But what I can say is that when we look at that area, we already have some infrastructure there, right there in Independence, Missouri. There's a building that could be turned into a temple, the Independence Visitor Center, and then we also have an actual stake center right there. So, anyway, interesting things to think about. I thought that this was pretty good. Let me know what you got out of this as we read through this. Was there anything that stuck out to you? And I'll end it there. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.